This session is part of the Indie Author Fringe Conference, a 3 times a year author conference fringed to the major publishing fairs London Book Fair, Book Expo America and Frankfurt Book Fair. The Indie Author Fringe is run under the stewardship of the Alliance of Independent Authors, is organised by writers for writers and is free to attend. Let's see who's sharing self-publishing insights in this session.
Hello, I'm Artale.
And I'm Yen Ooi.
And welcome to our Indie Author Fringe session, You've Written It, Now Own It, Understanding Your Author Role. We're here to help beginning authors understand the freedoms and responsibilities of self-publishing, what to DIY and what to outsource, and when. You've written your book, now what? If you want to be taken seriously as an author, it's your responsibility to put the most professional product out into the marketplace. And this is the only way that indie authors can dispel the stigma of being self-published. You've got 3 options available when you're publishing your ebook. You can either do everything yourself, you can outsource specific areas that are beyond your area of expertise, kind of a pick and mix approach, or you can use assisted self-publishing services. Now with these, you have the option of choosing 1 or 2 of their available services, or take their full service package option.
There isn't one right path to the market. It's actually what's right for you. It is your responsibility as the author to familiarize yourself with every step of the process, even if you're outsourcing part of the self-publishing process. You need to take ownership and accountability for getting your ebook into your readers' hands.
This podcast is aimed at beginning authors, and we're going to look at each of the ebook publishing steps: editing, cover design, production, distribution, marketing, and promotion. We're focusing on ebook production so that we can keep this podcast simple and clear. Our aim is to help you with the decisions you'll need to make to get your ebook to market. And going digital is the best way to reach more global readers.
Here's how we're approaching each publishing step. First, we'll highlight a common myth. Then we'll offer a key takeaway, which is one core aspect that you should consider when approaching the step. We will then provide suggestions on how you can take responsibility for some or all of the publishing. And then we'll provide our insights as authors who have been there and done that. Throughout the podcast, we'll reference articles or websites where you can access more in-depth information, and those links are included in our session page below.
So you've written your book and now it needs editing. And here's an editing myth we need to dispel. Authors can edit and proofread their final draft for publication. Yes, you can do this, but you really shouldn't. Not if you care about quality and professionalism. Now here's our key editing takeaway.
No matter how good we are at all the different aspects of writing, we can never spot our own errors. Always get a professional edit of your book and choose an editor that has familiarity with your genre. You always need at least 1 structural or developmental or copy edit and a proofread of your book. Depending on your genre and your writing, you might require more edits, but we recommend this as the basic required for a professional book. Here are 3 ways you can take ownership of your editing process. The first is prepare your book through a round of self-edits before taking it to a professional editor or giving a copy to your beta readers. When self-editing, aim for 4 qualities in your writing: brevity, clarity, simplicity, and unity. Remove, move, or improve anything that interferes with your reader's appreciation. Try and print off your manuscript with white margins. Read your writing out loud or get a recording playback. All these methods will help you spot any issues that your readers might have with your writing. I find reading out loud the most effective way of self-editing, as it allows me to spot any issues in flow very quickly. While self-editing, I always look for sections that are redundant, that do not improve or add to the story that I'm trying to get across, and have these removed. Most importantly, I try to separate myself from my writing and read it objectively, like how I would read someone else's writing. This space will let me be more critical about my writing without being precious about it. It is also very important to prepare your manuscript correctly for your editor. Common practice is to set the manuscript double-spaced throughout and in size 12 fonts. Keep it in standard paper format, which is A4 for the UK and letter size for the US, and avoid any fancy designs. For new chapters and sections, always use page breaks and avoid using Enter to push the text to the next page, as this will not show in the same way on every computer and will just mess up the formatting of the document.
Another self-editing step you can own is to provide a copy of your self-edited book to your beta readers. They're not professional editors or proofreaders and shouldn't be used to replace a professional editing team, but they will provide feedback on your draft. I used beta readers for the first time this year on a travel memoir I wrote. I found them on a Facebook forum called We Love Memoirs. And this is the important thing. When you're looking for beta readers, you need to find people that already read in the genre you write. So now that you've done your self-editing steps, you can familiarize yourself with the different types of edits. And then that way you can work effectively with your editors and proofreaders.
The second way to take editing ownership is to research and find the right editor for your book. Editors tend to have specialized editing skills. When looking for an editor, check out their portfolios to find one that matches your genre and style of writing. Look at an editor's past projects and affiliated organizations if you haven't worked with them before. For example, the Society for Editors and Proofreaders and the Alliance of Independent Authors Partners recommendations are good places to look. You can also get personal recommendations from other authors in the same genre. For my second book, a collection of short stories and poetry, I worked with a literary and poetry editor who not only helped me pull together the pieces to create a book that would showcase my work in the best way, she also constructively explained each edit and taught me how to improve my writing. Currently, I'm working with a brilliant science fiction editor, Michael Rowley, who has a tremendous knowledge for science fiction and its place commercially. With Michael, he provides structural edit notes that improves my writing and stories to fit into the current commercial market while maintaining my own voice and style. I also work with a fantastic copy editor and proofreader, Richard Sheehan. Once my work is polished structurally, Richard helps me with grammar issues through line edits, spotting any typos and checking facts to ensure that all details are tight.
The third way you can take ownership of the editing process is to determine what rewrites or edits you should implement. So after receiving your editors or beta readers' feedback, you have the final call on what changes to implement to your book. Sometimes you might find that the feedback is not relevant, and it's a difficult but necessary decision for you to make with the publisher's hat on rather than a writer's hat on. So when you're considering opposing feedback, you need to always consider your readers and your genre, and make an impartial assessment of whether the changes are going to enhance the reader experience.
Cover design is part of the process that can be done in parallel to editing, while your manuscript is still with an editor. Here's the cover design myth we need to dispel. People don't judge books by the cover. Of course they do.
Our key cover design takeaway is your book cover is as important as your writing. And here's 4 different ways you can take ownership of your cover design process. You can research books in the same genre that you write in, and especially look at current bestsellers. You can collate a handful of images or themes that work well as a reference, using something like Pinterest to gather your reference material. You can write a short paragraph that describes your book and use that as inspiration to find complementary images. And you need to take consideration for the following cover elements: imagery, colour choice, contrast, font choice, typography and composition. If you understand these design concepts and have technical skills on graphic design software, you might consider taking ownership of designing your own cover. You can use free tools like Canva or paid tools from Adobe with template designs to help you start your book cover design.
If you don't understand design concepts and are not familiar with graphic design softwares, outsourcing might be your thing. Find a designer with a style that reflects your own and have a chat with them to decide if you might be a good fit for working together. Many designers would be happy to throw a draft concept together for you, which they can provide using the brief you put together, as was just discussed. For my second book, which is a collection of short stories, poetry and drawings, I found a designer whose style I love. I could browse a portfolio of her work from her website, and after some initial discussion on rates and arrangements, we were happy to collaborate. I provided my designer with an overview of the flavors of my story and a couple of images that I had painted that I would like to use. She worked on the design concept with one of the images while rejecting the rest, which had initially annoyed me. But when she provided me with the draft cover, I could see that her vision was perfect for the book. for representing my stories. We then developed on that draft together until we were both happy with the final design.
You can also find designers on crowdsourcing platforms like 99 Designs. It's a good option when you have a small budget and well worth the investment.
The second way to take ownership is in the final decision on the book cover. Whether you are outsourcing your book cover design or doing it yourself, you have the ultimate decision about your final book cover of choice. The book cover needs to show the reader what to expect, what genre your book is, and who it is targeted to. A reader must trust that the ebook cover will deliver what the book promises.
Here's an ebook production myth we need to dispel. The enjoyment of a book isn't affected by its interior design.
Our takeaway on ebook production is that we need to use tools that are specific for the job in order to produce the best ebook for the chosen platforms. The first way to take ownership is to familiarize yourself with ebooks and how e-readers work. The intent of ebooks is about the reader experience. Readers own the control of how the book is displayed, including types of fonts, size, margins, and background. In order for the reader to have as much flexibility as possible, your ebook will need to be streamlined, simple, and minimal. You can't set up everything exactly because readers need the ability to enlarge the text, change the font, widen the line height, plus the ebook will look very different on every device and previewing tool. Depending on the distributor or platform you publish with, you might require a MOBI format ebook for Amazon KDP or an EPUB format ebook for all other platforms. Before you start creating and preparing your ebook files for distribution, you should determine the distribution channels you want to leverage, which is covered in the next section. One of the most important responsibilities is to create a simple and accurate file to enhance your reader's experience, giving them control of what their book looks like.
If you have a little bit of technical know-how, it's an easy enough task to format your own book. There are free ebook creation platforms like Readsy and Kobo Writing Life, and other paid ones like Vellum and Scrivener. I've tried lots of different formatting options for my ebooks, including uploading Word files to online aggregators and also hand coding in HTML. But earlier this year I converted to Vellum, and once I've formatted my books in Vellum, I share them in Calibre to view it before I upload to aggregators or distributors, because I find that viewing my books on different platforms helps me catch any formatting errors before I send it to my beta readers.
If you're not tech savvy, or if you're publishing a non-fiction book that requires a more complex layout, for example with lots of images or tables or linked references, you can outsource the formatting of your ebook. When searching for an ebook designer, ask for a couple of examples of past projects and look at those on a couple of different ebook readers to have a feel of how professional the work is. The second way to take ownership is in the final check of the ebook file for approval before publishing. Take your EPUB and/or MOBI file and open them in an online viewer and ebook reader, and proofread to check for layout issues like double spacing, extra gaps, wrong chapter breaks. When I check my EPUB file, I open it in iBooks on any Mac device and also using Adobe Digital Editions, which is a free software you can download. For the latter, because it is viewed on the computer, I also change the size of my viewer so that I can test how certain section breaks or images will look, trying to ensure minimal disruption to the reading process. For a MOBI file, I will open it in the Kindle app on my iPad or laptop, and I will also view it in my Kindle reader. When uploading onto Amazon KDP and most ebook distributors, you will also get a final chance at that point to check on the layouts through the platform's own online viewers.
Let's look at distribution, and the myth we need to dispel is, all I need is Amazon.
Our takeaway on distribution is, there are many different choices in how you can distribute your book, and you have to make a choice that suits you best. You may want to keep it simple and just start out with Amazon KDP, but at some point you will need to broaden your reach. Of all the decisions an author has to make, distribution channel selection is one of the most important, with long-term ramifications and royalty payment implications.
Here's one way to take ownership of the distribution process. You need to understand the difference between single-channel distributors and multi-channel distributors, and also assisted self-publishing services. Single-channel distributors distribute and sell your book through one channel or device, and examples of these are Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing, Barnes & Noble Nook, Apple's iBook Author, and Kobo's Writing Life. There's also multi-channel distributors that act as middlemen and distribute your books to multiple distributors and retailers. And these can also distribute to the single-channel distributors. With my books, I go direct with Amazon's KDP, Nook, and Kobo Writing Life. And then for everybody else, I go via Smashwords. So when I do my setup in Smashwords, I opt out of Amazon, Nook, and Kobo because I'm going direct with these distributors. It all sounds very confusing. Once you've done it a couple of times, it'll become second nature.
Going via one of these multi-channel distributors helps to reduce the amount of management an author must do. Instead of dealing with many different single-channel services, you only have to deal with one service. Examples of multi-channel distributors are Ingram Spark, Smashwords, Draft to Digital, Publish Drive, and BookBaby. You can also consider assisted self-publishing, where you can use a service that will upload your book onto their chosen distribution network. They will then manage the communications and arrangements with the distributors of their choice and will act as a middleman for your finances as well. Though this might present itself as the most hassle-free option, do note that you generally do not have any decision rights over the distribution points used, and you're also at the service's constraint on how often you receive your sales reports and royalty payments. I chose to go with Ingram Spark as a multi-channel distributor for my books because I'm aware that I do not have the patience to manage several accounts separately. Since I have many family and friends in different parts of Asia, global distribution of my books is important to me, and Ingram Spark is able to provide this through their international distribution points.
At the end of the day, authors choose different paths to market based on their niche, expertise, budget, technical skill level, and organisation. So familiarize yourself with all the different distribution options open to you and choose the one that's the best fit. Remember, this isn't a one-size-fits-all decision. It's really what's right for you.
Marketing and promotion is usually the last step in publishing that we think of, and yet it is one of the most important steps. The myth we need to dispel in marketing and promotion is that it is just a one-shot deal of activity you need to do when you launch your book. Your book has a very long lifespan, and marketing and promotion can only help extend it further.
Our key takeaway for marketing promotion is if you don't know who your target market is and how to reach them, your marketing and promotion efforts are going to be wasted. So when you're first starting out, it's difficult to find readers, and it's important to understand how to reach them. And it all starts with having an author website as your online anchor. Essentially, your website is your connection hub. So one of the ways that you can take ownership of marketing and promotion is to establish your foundation or anchor for your brand. So select one main online platform as your foundation or anchor for your brand. This will be your online calling card where you lead your audience to and where they can find out more about you. There's free hosting options for your website and also author-specific platforms. If you just want to establish a presence, this is a bare bones minimum. But free options can come with strings attached. Things like limited amount of space, host ads and banners on your site or pop-ups, or their domain name in your website URL, or even limited design options. If you're investing in your brand, invest in your own domain name and paid hosting. One of the most popular and easily customizable is a WordPress.com site. In addition to your website platform, you can also establish a presence on social networks, but only set up the accounts that you're willing to maintain. Choose a couple of social networks that you really enjoy using. Just focus on connecting with your readers through those social networks.
The second way to take ownership of your marketing and promotion is to set your goals and objectives before taking on any marketing activity. Understand why you are running certain activities and think about what outcomes would mean success, no outcome, or failure. Think about how you can track these outcomes as accurately as possible. For example, if you're doing a reading or signing at a book event, think about what you'd like to achieve. Is it gaining more readers through increasing your newsletter signups? Or is it selling more books at the event? Or is it just getting to know the local reading community through networking? It could be either of these or a little bit of all of them, or maybe you have other goals in mind. The most important thing is awareness of what your goal is and how you can measure it, as it will help you determine how successful that activity has been and whether it is worth repeating. This is applicable to paid advertising and promotions too. Don't invest a lot of money in advertising and promotion when you first start out. Go for no-cost or low-cost options. But if you are going to spend money, make sure you have a process in place to measure the success or effectiveness of it. Don't just throw good money after bad. You need to know your return on investment.
A third way of taking ownership of your marketing and promotion is to build your mailing list. If you haven't already set up your mailing list, do it now. MailChimp is free when you have less than 2,000 subscribers, and it's easy to use, and it's kind of fun as well. Make your sign-up forms easy to fill in and prominent on your website. You can offer free content in return for an email sign-up, like the first chapter of your book or a novella. This is a great way to introduce readers to your book and writing. I write non-fiction, and I gave away free content, which was a series of quick reference travel guides to build my list. These reference guides were on the same topic as my book. Then when my book came out, I had a target market to promote it to.
Focus on building relationships with your readers rather than trying the hard sell approach. Book sales generally happens only through a direct-to-reader activity or recommendations between readers. Like a business, you want to build a good network to support your work. Only here, we are looking for a network of readers. I use my website as an anchor to showcase all that I do. I enjoy being on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, but those are just promotional platforms to support my online profile. As a science fiction writer, my personal strategy is in building my reputation first, while I'm developing a bigger and stronger collection of my writing, and I do this by growing my presence within the science fiction circuit of conventions, festivals, and online communities.
So we've covered editing, cover design, production, distribution, marketing, promotion, and given you tips on how to take ownership for each step along the way.
Like all one-man companies, we rely on a good team of freelancers and suppliers who we trust to support us in the areas that we are not as skilled, to help us produce a professional product, to give our books the best shot possible. Learn the processes of publishing and build your team. When it comes to self-publishing, knowledge is power, and you have the power in the palm of your hands to launch your own author business.
You've been listening to another great session brought to you by the Indie Author Fringe and the Alliance of Independent Authors, ALLI. You can find out more about both by visiting ALLI's Self-Publishing Advice Centre, www.selfpublishingadvice.org. Now, go write and publish.